So, I like to tell you guys that I'm a positive minded Wizards fan, but today I found myself doing a lot of complaining. What's going on, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host, Ben Robertson. And yeah, first off, we're going to chat about that Wizards Rockets matchup here tonight, Wednesday edition of the show. I'll have a reaction video for you guys tomorrow morning, so make sure you're tuned into that. Make sure you drop your reactions in today's comment section. But going to give you a couple of complaints I have stemming from that Detroit game. And while the record is what it is this year, they aren't talking about the on court play related to the Washington Wizards. And again, we'll jump into the comment section from the previous video. Remember, make sure you drop your thoughts down below. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all the support here on the road to 1K. And like I said, let's give you a couple of quick storylines here for this Rockets matchup, at least for me. First off, Wizards trying to snap a 9-game losing streak, 1-10 here on the year. Right now, that's probably top on the list, top of the list. Regardless, again, we know what the situation here is this year, trying to hold on to that pick, but 1-10, I mean, hurts. And I think league wide, that's what people will be asking about with in terms of the Wizards. For me, individually looking a little bit, obviously Cam Whitmore playing his old team here tonight, where he was traded from, where he spent the first couple of years of his career. It'll be a really good look at this Kevin Durant-led Rockets bunch. I'm kind of excited to see that. He's coming off a big performance against Milwaukee. So interested to kind of see how this Rockets group matches up. Really now for a full 48 minutes, I'll be watching them, maybe not just in spurts or just highlights. And then for me, another one here is Chris Middleton, a little bit quiet over the last few games. Wonder if that's just enough to maybe get a Cam Whitmore, playing his old team, bumped into the starting lineup. I'd like to see that. Let me know how that goes. Or I know I'm not the only one that's kind of hoping Chris gets sent on to the bench. And then Bilal Coulibaly still going to be out for this matchup as well. But I told you, and really what I want to chat about here today are a couple things that kind of came to my mind really from that Detroit Pistons matchup. And first off, you guys remember, and this isn't a new issue in the NBA, but when you watch it up close with your favorite team, you go, man, they got to do something to figure this out. It was a big problem back in the playoffs. I remember as well, kind of the national media picked up on this. I remember there was one game Mike Breen even got really frustrated about it. Of course, the great play-by-play broadcaster. But what I'm referring to is the length of these video review in the NBA, these calls. And there was a specific play against the Pistons where Cam Whitmore goes up to try to block Cade Cunningham's shot at the rim from behind, ends up fouling Cade. Cade hits the floor hard. We chatted about it yesterday as well. Cam stood over him for a second, kind of made a whole big show. And so they went to the monitor to check out whether it was a flagrant foul or not. And I believe they also checked whether the Cam Whitmore kind of standover deserved a technical. And then Brian Keefe, after all of that, decides he wants to challenge whether it was a foul at all or not. Play stood, it was a foul. And for me, watching this, you're viewing this all go down, watching the refs get together, then make their trip over to the scores table, then put their little headset on, look at their little screen. It's just bad television. I believe they said on the broadcast it was like 8 minutes of real time between the two challenges. And again, the NBA probably not super worried, frankly, about this Wizards Pistons matchup on Peacock in that lengthy review. But in a playoff situation, we have actually seen this very much affect games and really put a halt into very intense competitive environments. I don't get this. I don't. The NBA has, they've the tools with the replay center in Secaucus. They make a big deal out of it. It's completely branded everywhere. But the problem to me seems to be, and I've been on kind of frankly, a rabbit hole through the NBA rule book and all this type of stuff that I don't really need to go down to, pretty much to come to the conclusion that there's certain calls that come down to the replay center's decision, and then there's certain calls like coaches' challenges, things like that, that come down to the on court crew chief. Well, I think, and so when you get the latter, where it's the on court crew chief, that's where you get these situations where he walks over to the monitor, decides if something needs to be replayed, figures out what the coach is challenging. And then we've seen 3 or 4 angles while we're sitting at home of, okay, Cam Whitmore fouled him, while he's got to sit there and take an extra 5 minutes to find out what the correct answer is. There's an official, there's an NBA referee actively working at the replay center who can just make these calls. You can literally put a microphone on him or just have him kind of, tell the information to the on-court crew chief. And before people start going, well, the NBA can just control things, the NBA, I'm sorry, that's a lot of conspiracy talk. When you look into how the replay center operates, it's very easy to monitor and regulate these things. And it just the fact that fans are sitting at home watching the call go down and you guys can't seem to figure it out for 10 minutes at a time. Again, it's bad television, it's frustrating, and I don't understand why. We've seen in college football at the college level, like the SEC has their replay center pretty much handle all their decisions, and they've expedited a lot of this stuff. Now they still have situations where they end up with lengthy reviews. It's just a frustrating thing for me as a fan, and we really saw that come to light the other night. No rhyming intended there at all. Now, I have another thing that I want to get into. And first off, I want to ask you guys, did you enjoy the Peacock broadcast if you tuned in? Of course, pretty much just one of essentially 2 national TV games for the Wizards, and I put it in air quotes because I think this one was on Peacock and there's another on Prime. They're not even on. I realize it's kind of what I'm getting into here, these streaming services. Not everybody has cable television anyway, so maybe that is national TV, but there's no games on it, the actual NBC network for the Wizards. I get it. That's a conversation. I'm doing a lot of complaining for today. I'll leave that off the list. What do you guys think of the Peacock broadcast? I did like kind of the effort that they made. I'll give you, I do a good bit of play-by-play myself, obviously not at the NBA level. So I try not to criticize broadcasters too much, but it's just never going to be the same as when you have Chris Miller and Drew Gooden on it. When you have your home local monumental guys that do them 82 nights a year, they're always just going to be more familiar and kind of, at least for me, give you a little bit better of a broadcast. For instance, it was Michael Grady, I think, was the play-by-play, and then Rivers and Robbie Hummel. I liked the idea that they're trying to mix something up where they had the 2 color commentators at a bench, one at the Pistons and one with the Wizards. But there was just a couple moments where Austin Rivers says something, and it's not his fault. He hasn't watched the team every single night of the year. But when you have been watching and he says something this hasn't really been occurring, for instance, man, this is just what CJ McCollum does. And really, we've seen some really bad performances from CJ McCollum this year. It's only in the last few games that he's kind of been going, and we've kind of been frustrated with what we've been watching. It's things like that where you go, okay, they just haven't been watching the team every single night, and it's not their fault. One thing I really liked about the Peacock broadcast was the postgame show. And specifically, and I think having Carmelo Anthony on there does so much for that. And then for Wizards fans, his connections to Baltimore and his personal knowledge and friendship, he said, with Bub Carrington's father, his late father, by the way, rest in peace. And of course, he knew Cam Whitmore as well growing up. And something were things he talked about on the broadcast, which I thought were really, really cool, just as Wizards fans, of course. However, I've done a little bit of hyping there of the Peacock broadcast because it really leads to me, again, to my final complaint of the day. I'm just so sick and tired of these streaming services. And I think we're getting to the point with these, we watch YouTube TV and ESPN do the exact same thing YouTube TV and Monumental Sports did. And look, to be quite honest, I would say there's a lot of blame to go on both of those sides. YouTube TV clearly having this problem now with multiple different providers. On the other hand, it's clear that Monumental and ESPN are happy with us giving them our money directly, because now I'm paying Monumental $20 a month to only watch a few teams, but they're teams I care about and want to watch on a nightly basis. And really, it's just two teams, the Wizards and the Capitals. I mean, no disrespect to the Mystics, but I know I'm sure there's Mystics fans down there, but those are the two teams that I am focused on for the most part. And I think it's getting to the point where I think it's time to call out the Leonsis family because we've seen other teams in the league. I believe it's the Suns go back to a local broadcast television network. And frankly, when your team is 1-10 and you're charging fans $20 a month to watch your games. I mean, when you go over to the hockey rink with Alex Ovechkin, you're watching, or with the Capitals, you're charging fans $20 a month, and you know they'll tune in because it's probably one of Ovi's final, if it's not his final season, it's one of his last couple of seasons. It's just unbelievable. And I'm sure they're getting paid nicely. I'm sure it feels great to them, but I don't know at what cost. Is it at the cost of just not treating your fan base correctly and just treating them like you really don't care? Because again, $20 a month for a service, it's just crazy to me. Any service is crazy, but I mean, for a service that pretty much provides you 2 or 3 pro teams, just wild. And I'm sick of it, frankly. Let's jump into the comment section here from yesterday's video. Let me get back on track. Dre Dalla, 05, 2005. Great video, bro. Great analysis. Mob Top 7944. I don't mean to, I'm laughing at myself right there, the way I read your username. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please keep coming back. Start dropping your thoughts down in that comment section. We totally appreciate it. I certainly do as well. Mop Top 7944, AJ DiBanza, welcome to DC. And hey, again, right now, and I talked about, hey, it would feel better if maybe things weren't 1-10, like 9 straight losses. That just hurts. But I said on yesterday's show, there's competition right now at the bottom of the league. I haven't looked at the standings today, but yesterday there was multiple teams that were all with 1 win in the East. So the Wizards are fighting for one of those bottom 8 picks. And again, a bottom 4 finish would guarantee that. Tariq McDaniel says, I've been arguing about all morning about Keefe's coaching. That word was terrible. And I'm with you. That was in reference to some of the blunders we talked about over the last couple games with Brian Keefe. We talked about that in yesterday's video. Make sure you go tune in if you haven't already. But for Keefe, for me, I was hoping he could prove himself in some of these situational moments here this year to, yeah, again, I really do believe and value some of the skill and some of just the development and the teaching he is able to give to these young guys on the roster. That's very different than managing a basketball game. And for his future, at least as a head coach, he's going to have to learn how to manage games. And it's hard to do that when you only have, I realized when you only have so many situations that are actually close at the end. Still, it seems like in those scenarios, he's seemed to make the wrong decisions. Multiverse Joe says Keefe won't be fired, and I don't think so either this year. He will be returned to his old coaching position when, if they idea a true leader, a tough head coach, they make the change. Keefe isn't enjoying his current role, at least not at the head coach position. I agree with you there. It doesn't seem like he loves this. It feels like he's just a guy that maybe is just more comfortable in the assistant coaching role. And that's not to say you're not a good leader. That's not to say you don't have leadership capabilities. There's a lot that comes with being an NBA head coach. There's just a lot of stress to it. Standing up and having to do media availability after every single game when you're leading a team that probably isn't trying to win. We know, we talk about it on fans here on the page all the time. The goal from the front office, just look at the roster, isn't, and again, look at the draft pick situation next year. It's not to win games, and he's got to sit up there and answer questions every single game, whether he makes mistakes or not. Imagine that's a stressful thing. Where I will say, and Multiverse Joe, I appreciate your comment as well, man. Consistently down in that comment section. Looking ahead a little bit to next year's draft as well, and also hoping. I believe you're hoping Chris Middleton comes off the bench as well. Great episode, very exciting and frustrating. Yeah, I feel you there. I appreciate the compliment. And I'm not sure that I know you see all the time coaches, and I think Wes Unseld Wes Unseld Jr. when he was lost his job, he was moved to a consulting role. I know you see that all the time. It would be hard to see even with the situation Brian Keefe is currently in, him maybe going back to an assistant coaching role with the same team, I could certainly see him going elsewhere. It would really have to be that he just is so connected with Will Dawkins and they had such an understanding of what his tenure as head coach was going to look like that he would be willing to fall back into that role. Because again, ego and pride is still very much a thing, even with a guy that might not want to be the head coach, going back to be the assistant coach with the same organization and going, man, like I used to sit in that chair behind that desk and be running the huddles and leading, the timeouts and everything. It'll feel a little bit different. But we'll keep you posted on everything related to the Wizards right here on the page. If you've gotten this far already, and you haven't already, make sure you've hit those like and subscribe buttons. I appreciate all the support here on the page. You can hit me over on Twitter at Ben Robertson32. Should be dropping some thoughts here tonight with that Rockets matchup. Remember, reaction episode to the Rockets game coming out tomorrow. And thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.